Welcome, everyone. Ready to dive deep into color theory? We're going to uncover how this system influences everything around us, from art and design to, well, just everyday life.
It's like a hidden language, color, shaping how we see things without us even realizing it. And what's amazing is how color theory blends scientific principles with, artistic expression.
That makes me wonder, is this something that, people have always understood, or is it a more recent discovery?
The foundations, especially the color wheel, go way back, like to Sir Isaac Newton in the 17th century. He's the one who organized those colors into that circular format.
Newton, whoa, the gravity guy. I had no idea he was into color, too. So why is this wheel so important?
It's like a map, it helps us see how colors connect. It starts with the primary colors, your red, blue, and yellow, which you can't make by mixing other colors.
Right, the ones we all learn as kids.
Yeah.
But how do we get from those three to, all the colors we see around us?
You mix them. Combine two primaries, and you get your secondary colors. Red and blue make violet, blue and yellow make green, and then red and yellow, you got orange.
Okay, I'm with you. Primary, secondary. Feels like we're building something here. What's next?
We get into tertiary colors. Those are made by mixing a primary with a secondary, next to it. So think red, orange, yellow, green, blue dash violet. You get the idea.
So it's not just about, mixing paint, the color wheel. It shows us this deeper order to how colors relate to each other.
Exactly. And getting these relationships is key to things like color harmony, which is basically combining colors in a way that's visually pleasing.
Color harmony.
Yeah.
So it's like music, but for your eyes. I'm definitely intrigued. Is there, a system for knowing which colors go well together, like musical chords?
Absolutely. Just like certain notes create harmony when played together, certain color combos, they naturally appeal to the eye. Let's start with a basic one, complementary colors.
Complementary colors, I've heard that before, but what's it mean on the color wheel?
They're directly opposite each other. So think red and green, your classic blue and orange, yellow and violet. They make a strong contrast because they bring out the intensity in each other.
Oh, so that's why sports teams use those colors for their logos a lot. They stand out and grab your attention.
Exactly. They're bold, energetic. Now think about analogous colors. These guys sit right next to each other on the wheel. These combos, they create a sense of unity and calm because they share those undertones.
So, a palette using blue, green, and green would be analogous? It does sound soothing, kind of like nature.
You got it. They often feel like natural landscapes, which is why they're popular in interior design, creating those peaceful spaces. Then we have triadic harmonies, which are three colors, but equally spaced on the wheel.
Triadic. Okay, so
Yeah,
instead of neighbors, we're talking colors that make a triangle on the wheel.
Precisely. The classic one's the primary triad, your red, yellow, and blue. But you could have, say, orange, green, and violet. It provides lots of visual interest while still feeling balanced.
This is making sense, but are there, more complex color harmonies out there?
You bet. We got split complementary harmony, which involves a base color and the two colors next to its complement. So it gives you a similar contrast to the complementary scheme, but with less intensity.
So instead of red with green directly, you'd use the colors beside green, like your yellow green and blue green. Sounds interesting.
Exactly. It creates more, nuanced and sophisticated look. And then there's your monochromatic scheme, which uses variations of just one color, playing with its saturation and value.
So using different blues from a light sky blue to a deep navy. That sounds very elegant, very cohesive.
It is. Think of a spa using all blues to create a feeling of tranquility, serenity.
Wow, we've covered a lot, and I feel like I'm just starting to get the hang of these color relationships.
Yeah.
But before we go into how this all works in the real world, I'm curious. Is there more to a color than just where it sits on the wheel? What else defines it?
You hit a key point there. It's not just the color itself, but also about its properties. Those really impact how we see it.
Yeah, you're right to ask that. Each color, it's got these qualities that go beyond just, the basic hue. And these properties, they're super important for understanding how how it subtly influences us.
Okay, so let's break down those color properties. What are they, and how do they change how we see and experience color?
Let's start with hue, which is, the pure color itself. It's like the name of the color, red or blue.
So hue is kind of like the color's core identity. What makes it different from others on the wheel? What about those other properties?
We got saturation, that's the intensity or purity of the color. A super saturated color, it pops, it's vibrant. And then a less saturated one looks more, I guess, muted or faded.
So fire truck red would be high saturation,
Right.
but dusty rose would be less saturated, even though they're both, red.
Exactly. And then there's value. That one describes how light or dark the color is. Imagine a grayscale, from white to black. Where does your color land on that spectrum? Okay, so value tells us how much light or dark is in a color. This is making me realize that even within one hue, like blue, there are so many possibilities depending on its saturation and value.
Absolutely. And that's why getting these properties is so important, especially for like designers. They let you make those subtle tweaks, create different moods and effects within a color scheme.
This makes me think about how color theory is used in the real world. Like companies think about this stuff when they're creating brands and marketing?
Oh, absolutely. Color plays a huge role in how a brand is perceived, even influencing what people buy. Certain colors, they bring up specific emotions, associations.
Yeah, I've noticed that a lot of tech companies use blue in their logos. Any reason for that?
It's not by chance. Blue often represents trustworthiness, stability, reliability. Studies even show that it can lower blood pressure and make people feel calm, so it's great for building that trust.
So when I see a blue logo, I might subconsciously feel like more secure and confident in that brand even before I know anything about them.
Exactly. It's all about tapping into those subconscious associations. Now compare that with red, which is often used by brands that want to project energy, excitement, even passion.
Right. Red makes me think of fast food, sports, those kinds of things.
Yeah.
It's definitely more like attention grabbing.
Exactly. It gives a sense of urgency, can even stimulate your appetite. That's why you see it so much with food. And it's not just branding. Interior design relies heavily on color theory, too.
I've always wondered how those interior designers use color to set a mood in a space. What's the secret there?
Understanding how colors affect our feelings, how we perceive things, that's key. Cool colors, like blues and greens, they tend to be calming. They make spaces feel larger, more airy.
So that's why they're often used in bedrooms and bathrooms
Yeah,
to create that relaxed vibe.
exactly. Warm colors, on the other hand, like reds, oranges, yellows, they feel more, well, they advance visually. They make spaces feel cozier and more energetic.
Which explains why we see them in kitchens and dining rooms to encourage conversation and, get those appetites going. It's amazing how even a small change in color can completely change the feel of a room.
It really is. And the more you get color theory, the more you can use it to design spaces that, well, they support your well-being. They reflect your style.
This makes me think about my own place and how I could use color better. It's like having this whole new set of tools to, I don't know, express myself.
Totally. And it's not just for our homes. Think about the clothes we wear, how we decorate our workspaces.
It's like color is the secret language we can use to change our surroundings, and now we're figuring out how to speak it.
Love that analogy. And the better we get at speaking this language, the more we see the world differently. Speaking of which, we got to talk about color psychology. It's fascinating.
Yes, I was hoping we'd get there. The idea that colors can actually affect our emotions and behavior. I'm hooked. Can we dig into that a bit more?
For sure. Of course, you have to think about cultural differences and personal preferences, but research shows that certain colors do have these universal psychological effects.
Okay, hit me with some color facts. What are researchers finding out about the psychology of color?
We already talked about how blue is calming, trustworthy, and red is exciting, energetic. But did you know that green, which we connect with nature, has been shown to have restorative effects?
That makes sense. When I'm stressed, I always want to be outside. It's like my body knows that green is calming.
Pretty cool, right? Research suggests that seeing green can actually reduce stress and help you focus better. And then there's yellow. We often link it with happiness, optimism, but it's also the most tiring color for our eyes.
Really? I always thought yellow was like cheerful, energizing. Why would it be tiring?
It's how our eyes process light. Yellow reflects a lot of light, which can overstimulate the eye. It can lead to fatigue. That's why people say not to use a lot of bright yellow in spaces where people need to concentrate for a long time.
Never knew that. Makes me wonder, are there other surprising color psychology facts I should know?
Tons. For example, pink. We associate it with femininity and all that, but it's been shown to have a calming effect, especially in places like institutions.
Really? I've heard of prisons using pink to reduce aggression. Is that true?
Yeah, there have been studies, and the results, well, they aren't totally clear-cut, but there is some evidence that certain pinks, they call it Baker Miller pink, can have a calming effect, at least for a little while.
Wow, that's wild. Seems like we've barely scratched the surface of this whole color psychology thing. It's making me realize how much thought goes into using color, whether it's branding, interior design, or even, like you said, those institutions.
Definitely. The more we understand about how color affects us, consciously and subconsciously, the better we can use it to create, well, good experiences and good environments.
This whole deep dive has been so eye-opening. I mean, we've gone from the basics of the color wheel to those color harmonies and the properties of color, and now this fascinating world of color psychology. I feel like I'm seeing the world in a totally new way now.
I'm glad to hear that. And remember, this is just the start of your color journey, you know? There's so much more out there to learn and explore.
So as we wrap up, what's the one thing you really want our listeners to take away from this color theory deep dive?
I'd say the most important thing is to just, be more aware of how color's being used around you and how it's influencing you, how you feel, how you see things. Start paying attention to the colors you're drawn to, how they make you feel.
That's a great point. It's like we've been given this decoder ring to understand the visual language of, well, everything around us. Now we just got to use it.
Exactly. Once you start seeing how color is used to, I don't know, communicate, to persuade, to create a certain feeling, you become more, I guess, more aware of your visual world.
So if someone's listening, what's one thing they can do today to put all this new knowledge into practice?
Pay attention to your surroundings, but really pay attention to the colors. As you go about your day, look at the color palettes they use in different places, a store, a website, even your own home.
Yeah, ask yourself, what feelings do these colors bring up? Do they make you feel calm, energized, welcoming, exclusive even?
Just by noticing and thinking about your own reactions to color, you'll get a better grasp of how powerful it is.
And hey, maybe you'll start seeing those color harmonies we talked about in, unexpected spots. Like a fun little game you can play all day.
Exactly. The world's full of color, just waiting to be discovered and enjoyed.
Well, that wraps up our deep dive into the amazing world of color theory. Hope you all enjoy the journey with us.
It's been a pleasure diving into all these color nuances with you.
And remember, everyone, color is a powerful tool. It's about expression, communication, creating positive experiences. So go out there, explore, experiment, and most importantly, have fun with it. Until next time, keep those color wheels turning.